Welcome to the self-improvement movement. Okay, right out of the gate, I've got a pretty bold claim to make. What if I told you that your entire life right now, I'm talking your bank account, your relationships, the results you're getting, your whole future trajectory, is the direct results of just one single thing: the way you think. In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how that works, and way more importantly, how you can actually take control of it.
It's so easy to blame outside circumstances for our outcomes, right? We kind of just assume our destiny is dictated by our jobs, our background, or how we grew up. But what if your life really is the result of just that one thing? This explainer is all about stripping those excuses completely away. Because here's the truth. Those external factors, they don't dictate your destiny. Your mind does. That internal mechanism of your thought process is the literal engine driving exactly where you end up.
It all comes down to this legendary truth taught by basically all the greatest voices in personal development. You become what you consistently think about. Honestly, read that again. It's not what you think about once in a while or, what you casually hope for. It's what you consistently focus on. And here is the genuinely scary reality we really need to confront today. Most people don't actually think at all.
Which brings us to section 1, reacting instead of thinking, the modern epidemic. We're living in this hyper-fast world where true, intentional thought has been largely replaced by just knee-jerk reactions. People are absolutely addicted to consuming rather than creating and reacting instead of actually thinking. Just look at the stark contrast between these two mindsets. On one side, you've got the drifter. This is kind of the modern default state, right? Constantly reacting, endlessly scrolling through feeds, complaining about circumstances. Then on the other side, we have the thinker. This person has clear goals, a defined purpose, and they're actively directing their life. The absolutely crucial point here is that these drifting behaviors aren't just harmless ways to pass the time. They are quietly, almost invisibly, shaping the entire trajectory of a person's life. To really wrap your head around the danger of that drifter mindset, let's look at this incredible observation from Jim Rohn. He said, "Failure comes from small errors in judgment repeated daily." See, failure doesn't usually announce itself with some massive explosion. It happens quietly. Those poor thinking habits, the little, seemingly insignificant negative reactions or those wasted hours, they don't just slow you down, they compound. Slowly and silently, these tiny daily errors in judgment lead straight to failure. Moving on to section 2, thinking is creative power, and how your thoughts create your direction. We're drawing here on the brilliant philosophy of Earl Nightingale, who built basically his entire life's work on one incredibly powerful idea. Your thoughts create your direction. People who think with clarity end up in completely different destinations than those who just kind of drift along. Because thinking is not passive. We so often treat thought as if it's just daydreaming or passively observing the world around us. But thinking is creative power. I really want you to grasp this. Every single tangible result you see in your life today, the good and the bad, started out as an invisible decision. It started as a belief or a repeated idea in your head. And over time, that invisible thought literally materialized into your reality. Section 3, the garden of your mind, and why thinking is actually so hard. So, if thinking is this ultimate superpower, why doesn't everyone just use it? Well, because genuine thinking requires intense effort. It is hard work. That is exactly why the masses avoid it, preferring instead to just, follow the crowd, repeat whatever they hear on the news, or just react emotionally to whatever's right in front of their face. But look at the alternative approach. High performers intentionally pause. Instead of reacting, they interrogate their reality. They stop and ask, wait, is this actually true? Is this thought or action helping me? Where exactly is this leading me? By asking these questions, they completely short-circuit that habit of reacting and force their brains to actively think. Jim Rohn beautifully described the mind using this garden metaphor. He said, if you don't plant intentionally, weeds will grow automatically. Just think about what happens to an unkempt garden. You don't have to water weeds to make them grow, do you? No, they just take over on their own. Well, the exact same thing goes for your mind. If you aren't intentionally planting good thoughts, the mental weeds are going to automatically sprout. And what are those weeds? Doubt, fear, limiting beliefs. And they will absolutely choke out your potential if you let them. All right, section 4, steps to intentional thinking. This is your blueprint. Okay, so we know the problem and we definitely know the stakes. Consider this your blueprint to take back total control of your mind. There are 4 essential daily disciplines required to become an intentional thinker. First, you've got to think on purpose, meaning you stop letting random input control your focus. Second, think long-term. Third, think in disciplines. And fourth, fiercely guard your mind. Let's break these down a bit so we can understand exactly how they operate in your daily life. Let's look a little closer at that second step regarding time horizons. This perfectly highlights the divide between average individuals and highly successful people. Average thinking is totally locked in short-term survival, thinking only about getting through today, or, what feels good right this second. But intentional thinkers, they operate with a long-term vision. They ask, where is this specific decision going to take me in 5 years? That simple shift in perspective completely changes the choices you make today. Addressing the third step, thinking in disciplines, we return to Jim Rohn again. Success comes from small disciplines repeated daily. Your life is not built in massive, traumatic, movie-like moments. Actually, scratch that. It's built in small, quiet, daily thinking patterns. It's the discipline of choosing a productive thought over a destructive one, day in and day out, that ultimately constructs a wildly successful life. And the fourth step on our blueprint is, honestly, probably the most critical one for the modern age, guarding your mind. You have to be ruthlessly careful of what you watch, what you listen to, and who you surround yourself with. Why does this matter so much? Because whatever input you allow inside your mind will eventually manifest in your life, period. Your brain is just absorbing those inputs as raw material to build your future. Section 5, your future in progress. This is the breakthrough. If you've been following the logic so far, everything is about to click right into place regarding exactly how your brain processes reality. Here is a brutal, absolutely undeniable truth. You don't get what you want, you get what you think about consistently. Wishing is simply not enough. I mean, everybody wants to be successful, happy, and wealthy, right? But if you constantly think, I'm stuck, well, guess what? You stay stuck. If you think, I'll never succeed, you won't. But if you train yourself to constantly look for opportunities, suddenly you start finding them everywhere. The science behind why that happens is just fascinating. Your brain actually acts as a cognitive filter. It's this mental mechanism that actively scans your environment to find evidence supporting your existing beliefs. So if you believe the world is full of misery, your brain is going to highlight every single piece of evidence to prove you right. But if you believe the world is full of opportunity, your brain filters in the opportunities. That's exactly why intentional thinking is absolutely non-negotiable. So I want to ask you this directly, and I really want you to let the weight of this explainer settle in for a second. What are you thinking about every day? The people who win in life are not luckier. They just think differently. They think with intention, with clarity, and with deep purpose. Those thoughts you're having right now, they aren't just thoughts. They are literally your future in progress. We end with this powerful, definitive statement. Change your thinking, and you don't just change your mind, you change your entire life. You are the architect of your destiny, and your thoughts are the building blocks. So the question I leave you with is this. The moment this explainer ends, what are you going to intentionally choose to think about next? Keep building, keep thinking, and I'll see you on the next one.